Well, this sunshine continues across the high desert with temperatures that are still above average, still well into the 80s, and no rain in sight, at least until we hit the weekend. Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Darrell Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center, and we're about to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast. Now, bigger changes are on the way, just not until we get through the rest of this week. So when we look outside, we have tons of sunshine. This sunshine is because of a ridge of high pressure. Even when we look at a few other cameras, the ODOT cameras, we don't see any wet roads. We do see shadows on the road, and those temperatures have just either been feeling nice or warm. And even where it's warm, we do have a little bit of a breeze. It's helping to knock down the temperatures, but it's not bad. When it comes to air quality, even though we see haze, we have good air quality. Both the hourly average from the DEQ and those real-time sensors from eSpace are all showing green. Now, through the next couple of days, that could be changing a little bit, but one thing that's not going to change is the influence of this ridge of high pressure. It's staying with us. Even with that cold front offshore, all of that activity out over the Pacific Ocean just works its way right through Canada and not really impacting us, except for the potential for a few clouds each afternoon. And even by tomorrow, it's going to be few and far between. So when we look at infrared satellite imagery, taking radar out of the picture and looking at the entire scan of the hemisphere, what we see is that those isobars, the lines going right through everything, they're pretty far apart, so it's not been that breezy. B, we see that low pressure that's working its way into Canada right over the Gulf of Alaska. That cold front is the cold front depicted on the graphic before, and it's not going to make it here because of our ridge of high pressure, which is centered out over the Pacific Ocean and expanded into the Pacific Northwest. Now, there is another high over the Four Corners region and southwest U.S. that's also ridging into the region, and what that means for us is we are expecting the potential for some thermal ridging. So it's almost like these two ridges of high pressure are going to be working in concert with each other, keeping that subsidence over the Pacific Northwest, maintaining our sunshine and stability, and just not letting any precipitation come through. But the ridge that's over the southwestern U.S. and the Four Corners region, that brings us what we call thermal ridging, and that means it's going to help those temperatures get even hotter. Now, on top of that, we do not have much in the way of moisture. It's not as bone dry as it typically gets during the summer, but we're still in the teens and 20s, mostly in the 20s, with 11% in Prineville and 30% for relative humidity in Sister. So that's still pretty dry for high desert standards. Now, we're not looking at much more than just elevated fire danger unless there's a human-caused incident, and that's mostly because winds aren't going to be too strong, and we're actually looking at the potential for everything to not just stay dry, but winds aren't going to pick up, and we don't have any chance of thunderstorm activity. And when you put all that together, the risk of fire danger is not going to be very high, again, unless some person decides that they're going to start a man-caused fire. Outside of that, looks pretty good. So as we go forward through the next couple of days, we continue to warm up. Right now, our temperatures today topped out in the 80s with a few 70s on the map. A couple spots struggled to get out of the 70s and into the 80s, but look at that, high temperatures through the last 24 hours looking pretty nice on the high desert. But as we go forward, we see it get even warmer through the next couple of days. So currently we're sitting in the 80s with some 70s. By the time we get to tomorrow, it warms up even more. So actually our temperature change is running between 6 and 13 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago, and we have those temperatures in the 80s with just a few 70s out there. But here's the temperature trend. We fall back into the 40s with a few 30s out there, and by tomorrow we're topping out in the mid 80s, and this is above average for this time of the year. That average high for Bend is 76. The average high for Redmond is 79 degrees, and so we are going to be above average, just not quite near record-breaking temperatures, which are mostly in the 90s. Now, your school bus forecast shows a cool, crisp start, and by the afternoon those 80s are expected, but again, not much in the way of cloud cover however. No rain in sight, and winds mostly staying in light breeze. Wednesday afternoon, a few clouds are expected. And we'll look at that with the regular forecast model, but we're not quite there yet because there's just not much to show until you get to Thursday and Friday. Between now and then, we still have this ridge of high pressure. So a cold front is going to be approaching the region. This is the one that's out over the Pacific Northwest. Remember, I said most of the activity goes into Canada, where the very tail end of this cold front is going to bring us a slight dip in temperatures after a few PM clouds on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, we're looking at 80s. On Thursday, we're looking at 80s and some 70s. By Friday, we rebound. We're still in the 80s, but we have more clouds, and a few sprinkles are going to be possible as we wrap up the work week and go into the weekend. And that chance for sprinkles mostly going to be Friday, Saturday, and Saturday night. And then by Sunday, we're back to clearing. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., no rain in sight. We are bone dry. And here's how that plays out. Your forecast model shows that cold front offshore. And even though our high pressure's in place, that cold front continues to roll into the Pacific Northwest and starts to push north, fizzling out as it goes to the north. So some PM clouds Wednesday, no rain in sight. By Thursday, more PM clouds expected, no rain in sight. By Friday, this is when we get a chance of some PM showers, and then by Saturday, going into Saturday night, another chance. So let's look at the long-range forecast model. This was a lot more pronounced yesterday, but for today, it just looks like some sprinkles are possible. That's why I took the shower chances out and threw in a chance of sprinkles. By Sunday, we're back to sunshine, and we keep that sunshine through Monday, going into Tuesday as well. So between now and Thursday at 11 p.m., dry. And gusty winds aren't really going to be a problem. In fact, wind gusts right now are mostly 10 to 20 miles per hour. Really, you could say 8 to 15 miles per hour, and actual wind speeds are at a light breeze. Now, with this graphic, everything to the left of the white line is observed, everything to the right is forecast, and we've had mostly a light breeze today, and it stays that way overnight. Then by tomorrow, could get a little breezy at times, and by Thursday, could get a little breezy at times. Really not too bad when it comes to the conditions on the high desert. So for tonight, we're talking 40s, some 50s, and a few 30s. By the time we get to tomorrow, tons of sunshine, a few PM clouds, 80s across the map with a few 70s possible. Notice I stress the word possible. It's not going to be widespread 70s. We're going to be above that average high of 79 degrees. And so going forward, a chance of some sprinkles is expected Friday and Saturday. Sunday we dry back out. Monday we're back into the 80s. But some roller coaster temperatures are on the way. We are looking at a few chances of sprinkles, winds getting breezy at times. Overall, this late summer pattern is staying with us, and we're looking at above average temperatures. So you don't have to put the paddle boards away just yet, and you probably shouldn't take the air conditioners out of the window. But overnight, it is going to be getting still pretty crisp with warm days. Now, our weather headlines include this sunshine and dry conditions with very little cloud cover until we hit Friday. And so you'll have to layer up for sunrise and sunset. Other than that, it looks pretty good on the high desert. That's the latest in weather. Join us tonight on Central Oregon Daily News with the latest headlines and your most reliable forecast. See you then.